Oh my God, now it's the final decision. We have big news about the Raiders. And, my friend, I want you to be prepared because this just broke and is already causing a real stir among fans, former players, and the front office. The name behind this news is well-known, controversial, and, above all, unexpected. And the debate is heating up in Las Vegas. Malcolm Kuni didn't just spend 2024 on the sidelines, he spent it stoking a flame that's now ready to explode on the football field. After tearing his anterior cruciate ligament just 3 days before the 2024 season opener, the Raiders' edge rusher was called upon to watch from the shadows as the team's pass rush declined. The end result? Las Vegas finished 27th in pass rush grade with a forgettable 64.1, according to Pro Football Focus. But here's the real problem. The Raiders wouldn't let him go. Instead, they secured a $10 million contract with Kuni, $5 million base, $5 million in incentives, betting on the version of him that exploded in the second half of 2023. And if you remember that Kuni, you'll remember this: 38 carries, 8 sacks, and an 81.3 PFF grade, which ranked 22nd among 112 defensive end class members. Not bad for a former third-round draft pick from Buffalo who barely saw the field in his first 2 seasons. Now, with a healthy Christian Wilkins, who also missed much of last season, the Raiders' defensive line could go from a liability to a lethal threat. New coach Pete Carroll understands defense, and with the additions of quarterback Geno Smith and running back Ashton Jeanty, the situation suddenly looks dangerous from start to finish. But make no mistake, the defense's real challenge may be a familiar face returning with something to prove. Malcolm Kuni isn't just back, he's back with a purpose. And speaking of purpose, the Raiders haven't finished rebuilding their defense yet, because while Kuni brings the edge, a former Commander star is about to make the leap to the secondary. This is the kind of play that makes front offices jealous and opposing offenses nervous. When a Super Bowl caliber safety hits the market, most often hesitate. The Raiders didn't. While others calculated salary cap space and wondered if he was worth it, Las Vegas acted decisively and may have just pulled off one of the quietest off-season raids. Jeremy Chinn, a name that should be familiar to anyone who watched the Commanders' 2024 championship run, is now a Raider. The former second-round pick had a breakout season last year. 117 tackles, 2 fumble recoveries, an interception in the playoffs, and a commanding presence on every snap. His reward? A 2-year, $16.2 million contract with Las Vegas, with more than 75% of that guaranteed. But the real reward could be for the Raiders themselves. Fox Sports insider Jordan Schultz was the first to break the news, calling Chinn a tremendous addition to the Las Vegas secondary. And ESPN's Seth Walder also didn't hold back, calling the signing one of the smartest defensive signings of the offseason. That's not just hype, it's respect from analysts who know what elite safety play is like. So why did Washington let him go? Simple. They're betting big on Quan Martin. The rising star, drafted in 2023, showed great potential last season with 87 tackles, 3 induced fumbles, and a game-winning pick 6 in the playoffs against the Lions. But even the brightest future doesn't erase the value of the present, and the Commanders may regret letting Chinn walk for a modest contract. The Raiders didn't hesitate. They saw an opportunity to plug a glaring hole in their second with a proven, playoff-tested force. Chinn brings elite run support, clever angles in coverage, and something that can't be taught: fearlessness. He's not just a defender, he's a dictator, and that's exactly what Las Vegas lacked on defense. His 69.0 PFF grade might not jump out at you, but look closer. He was consistently tasked with high responsibility duties, often covering tight ends, slot receivers, and getting into the box against high-level running games. And in the playoffs, he excelled, recording 29 tackles in just 3 games and becoming a vocal leader for a Commanders team that reached the NFC Championship, their first appearance since 1991. Now, he brings that energy, grit, and title hunger to a Raiders defense that is quietly building something special. Pair Chinn with a healthy Malcolm Kuni and Christian Wilkins, and suddenly the Raiders have impressive firepower at all 3 levels of defense. It's not just a move, it's a message. Las Vegas isn't content with flashy names or draft hype. They want players who make a difference. They want players who feel the weight of the postseason and still deliver. Chinn is that guy. And maybe, just maybe, he's the missing piece that transforms a vulnerable secondary into one of the most balanced units in the AFC. But while the defense finally seems to be settling into form, there's still a big question on the other end of the floor: who will get the ball? Because rumors are swirling, and a certain controversial name is suddenly back on the radar. But not everyone is celebrating. Amari Cooper donning silver and black again? For some fans, it's like redemption. For others, especially for one of the most respected voices in Raiders history, it's just the return of an old problem. And we're not talking about any former player. Lincoln Kennedy, offensive line legend and voice of the franchise, got straight to the point on the Locked On Raiders podcast and didn't mince words when addressing rumors of a possible reunion between the Raiders and the wide receiver. He never wanted to be a Raider. I was one of the first to interview him when he arrived. I looked him in the eye and knew he wanted out, Kennedy said. And to be quite honest, he never took the next step. He never became a good route runner. Amari Cooper. It's just a name, nothing more. Hefty? Yes. But totally baseless? Not exactly. Since being traded to the Dallas Cowboys in 2018, Cooper has had his ups and downs. He's had solid seasons, yes, but also long periods of invisibility on the field. Now, after stints in Cleveland and Buffalo, he's reaching the lowest point of his career, coming off his worst season in terms of production. And with the market still open and the Raiders looking for solutions for their passing attack, his name is once again being considered as a potential reinforcement. But then a question arises. Does it make sense to bring Cooper back? Las Vegas's current receiving core is still under construction. Jacoby Myers is the only name with a proven impact, while youngsters like Trey Tucker show speed but have yet to prove themselves. Rookies Jack Beck and Dante Thornton Jr. are promising but inexperienced. The offensive force is increasingly technical in tight ends Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, who are expected to play a central role in 2025. With this setup, do the Raiders really need to gamble on a veteran who may be in decline? Kennedy's argument, as harsh as it may seem, goes beyond a technical critique. It's about identity. Pete Carroll's new leadership is reshaping the Raiders' culture. Less stardom, more commitment. Fewer headlines, more connection. Bringing Cooper back could be seen as a step backward in this proposal. The current momentum seems focused on building chemistry, youth, and players hungry for victories. Onana names carrying doubts and a history of disconnection with the locker room. Still, the front office can't simply ignore a potential reinforcement if the cost-benefit ratio makes sense. Cooper was the 4th overall pick in the 2015 draft. His talent has never been questioned. But now, the question is, does he want to be part of this new era of the Raiders? Is he willing to reinvent himself in a system that demands total effort and collective attention? This could be the difference between a successful gamble and another mistake from the past. Ultimately, the coaching staff will have the final say. But one thing is certain. If Amari wants to return, it won't be for the spotlight. It will be for a genuine desire to wear the shield with pride, something Kennedy says he never expressed the first time around. With the defense gaining powerful reinforcements like Malcolm Kuni and Jeremy Chin, and the offense surrounded by doubts about the return of a controversial name like Amari Cooper, do you believe the Raiders are on track to surprise the NFL? Or are they still missing the piece that will transform this team into a true Super Bowl contender? Leave your opinion here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, but I'll be back later to update you with the latest Raiders news.